Before I start creating and building my own velomobile, I got to clear some projects off of my work list. One of the things is my camera tower, camera pylon. I'll go over that. I've got a pile of misfit reject pieces there. But also I want to work on getting at least the piece made off of this. This is my shorty hood for the Milan that I'm designing. I'm just at 60 hours on the work clock there as far as time into this. This is the back side of the mold. Obviously, I've kind of switched over to doing a bit more with carbon fiber on the mold. I'm finding it's working very well for me. These are the knee bumps, obviously, but I've got a new dash coming in. It's going to be a very tiny little dash, actually, just kind of something coming down to hold the mount for my Wahoo Element computer. Small tabs off the back sides here. I only use a little bit, but I'm going to embed neodymium magnets in there. And once I've got this set up, I'll glue some magnets on the underside of the rain gutter on the Milan. That'll help to hold this down when it comes down into place. And I still have to work on designing out some hinge blocks for the front so I can make this as a pivot. I'm working on the molds and those. But this one I've done polishing and everything else. This is all ready. It's just looking beautiful. I'm just loving how this one came out. And this is again the fiberglass gel coat. I've been really having good luck with this one. This thing is only weighing about, I don't know, maybe about 2 pounds, I guess. Maybe 3 pounds. But it's really come out really nice. I'm really happy with this. I've got 2 coats of wax on here, and I need 4 more coats, and then I can go ahead and prep this and put on some gel coat. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, and then I'll be putting on my carbon fiber on that. So that project is all ready to go, and once that piece is done, I'm ready to move forward. The other project I wanted to clear off my list before I start working on building a velomobile is my camera tower, camera pylon. I'm mounting on the top to put a camera on top of the machine. This is contoured to match the turtle deck of the Milan, so it fits on there really nicely. It actually fits pretty well on the WOW as well. And I can go over how I do this, but it required a 2-part mold, and it was basically the second 2-part mold I'd made. And it's kind of good that I learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes on this thing. I've got a bin of misfit pieces over here, all the different variations. So I did learn a lot about the whole process of what I'm working on, materials I like or don't like, and so it was good that I did it on something small like this. But I'll give you a little quick history of what this project came out with. This is my plug. When I made the first plug, the contours here were just flat. I didn't make any. I figured the contours started further back, essentially. So it was way too flat of a contour, so I did not like that. I wanted to remake that one. So that mold was going to get tossed. One of the things is, though, I made this, it's all, when you first make a plug, typically, this is foam. This was all out of foam, so it destroyed in the first mold that I made. So I made another piece. I used the first piece off of that mold to actually put back into a redesign of the plug. Now here's my plug, and if you look, you can see kind of closely, you can see the carbon fiber. I was doing an exposed carbon fiber. So this is actually a carbon fiber piece up here on the top. Built it in. You can see the contours here. You got a better slope to it versus what I had with my original piece. So it fit the contours better. And that's this mold here. Now the problem, of course, is making pieces on this. Spraying gel coat in there is impossible. You can't spray and get that very well. So you really need to spray it with the 2 pieces open, clamshell style, and then put it together. I was having a lot of problems with things. Oh, this one actually, this is mold number 2, was giving me a lot of problems with the gel coat, the orange gel coat I had purchased locally. It was much less expensive, but I was having problems with the temperature controls and stuff. The resin's bonding to this even after all my wax and everything else on there. And also on one of my pieces here, I get this like orange peel crazing on the piece itself. So that was not very good. So that mold got tossed, and I'm now working on the 3rd mold. The 3rd mold has been working well. I switched to fiberglass orange gel coat, which I've been very happy with. The temperature, the handling of various temperatures is much better on it because I don't have a heat-controlled space here necessarily. This is, I think, piece number 14, if you will, actually. It's been taking quite a while to get this to the stage where I'm happy with it. One of the earlier things, and this is my cosmetic defects, I was getting bubbles and blemishes in this. This is a clear ultraviolet protection gel coat you still should put on there with carbon fiber. So I was getting bubbles under there, trying to get pieces to putting the gel coat on and then letting the gel coat get tacky, and then putting the carbon fiber in here for reinforcement when the mold's together. And I was always smearing it on the surfaces to get a nice impression of the carbon fiber fabric in there. Here's another one. I was getting a little better at it, but I got a little bit of bubbles up in here. And also I was starting to see something showing through was the carbon fiber showing through on the seam itself. And then of course here was an ugly bubble between the gel coat and the resin. That did not set up well. So I think this is number 14 of 15. I did a white to try to match the body of the Milan. I screwed this up myself. There's a nick in the side here. Drilling this hole, I was an idiot, and I it went too hard and I hit the side. So this is number 14 for the trash pile. Number 15 is on there. But I can also show you some of the things I do. I tend to run a belt sander over the top, so that's my issue there, to make this nice and smooth for the camera mount. What I use for a camera mount: I purchased these things off of Amazon. It's a nice little metal mount just to hold any kind of GoPro style or camera mount, things like that. It has a 1/4 20 female in the back, so what I usually do is I just put some kind of the permanent Loctite in there, put a 1/4 20 bolt in there, and then cut the head off and use that as a simple little stud sticking out. Mounts inside the... I'll have to show you that in a minute. One nice thing too, it's got a rubber washer kind of built right into that. So when it's sitting on the top, it's nice because it does give you some vibration reduction in your camera, a little bit of isolation between the body, a little bit. And also as you snug it down, it gives it a nice kind of a little bit of friction to keep it from sliding around. So one of the bigger breakthroughs came when I finally realized that I did not have to put the carbon fiber on while the gel coat was tacky. I was always thinking or felt that that was what I had to do. Once I realized that I could let the gel coat cure up before I put the fiberglass or the carbon fiber on there, made it a lot simpler for me. I think, what I ended up doing in a quick process here is spraying a gel coat on these, letting it dry. Actually, this piece was in the mold. The gel coat was on the mold for a week before I put carbon fiber onto that one, so it works out well. Spray the gel coat, let it cure. I cover this over so I don't have gel coat all over the mating surfaces. Once that dries, I actually put a little bit of carbon fiber in here very precisely so it's not into the seam area. Once I do that, left and right side, I can put this together. What I've had to do now, I find, is I have to mix up a small amount of the gel coat, in this case white, to the last one I made, and touch up all along that seam because it sucks down in, and then I put the carbon fiber, and it was pulling the carbon fiber right in the seam. So I actually have to touch it up. I had to touch this one up twice with a little, just 5 grams of gel coat to touch those things up with a small little brush in there. Let that dry, then I can go ahead and put on my carbon fiber. The one thing that this was giving me problems with all the wet gel coat application was that I was kind of rushing getting everything in there, and I wasn't getting the vacuum bag set up well. So on the inside you can see the white gel coat was starting to melt and ooze and stuff, and then shows up on the outside, and so it wasn't a pretty situation. So we finally got that squared away. So now I found that, this is number 14 of 15, I believe. The gel coat on it, what I usually do before I cut, usually the mold is coming out something like that. Before I cut that off, I spray 3 or 4 coats of Flex Seal, clear Flex Seal on the underside of this, and I sand down any rough spots of the carbon fiber. So it gives it a nice smooth surface to be on the body, hopefully not abrading anything, and also kind of a little bit of I don't say water seal, but a nice little grip to the body, not sliding around. What else? So this is, I also have to make I made a reinforcement plate. This is contoured to match the turtle deck of the Milan. Goes up on the underside of the Milan. Let me take this apart. Got a couple M6, 12 bolts, stuff like that. So this is my reinforcement plate. A couple little nut rivets that I put in there. And again, this is matched to the contour up underneath the Milan's turtle deck. Cut this in. I'll actually put a grommet, put a rubber grommet around the outside edge of this. The charging cord for this camera, the Garmin 360, is really nice. The battery doesn't last but an hour, I think, in the camera at most. Run this to a power cord down inside, and I have a battery bank inside so I can get 6 or 8 hours worth of video. So this is for the cord to run down through. I run this into a battery pack in the body, and I can run the whole day on a camera basically. Up inside, you should be able to see a little bit better in there. You can see I put a nylock nut on the end of that stud to hold the camera mount on, and just by tightening that up, I can set how much flexibility, how much movement I want, so I can adjust this if I needed to, if I wanted to, but it's going to stay where I want. Earlier version, I had to cut myself a rubber grommet under there. This is the non-power charging cradle for the Garmin. There is one that has a cable up. I'll show you that in a minute. Mount for the Fly 60, bolts up into here obviously, and this is a hole I put in there for passing my charging cable for the Garmin. The reason it's this big is there's a nut on the Garmin charging cable. It's about that large, so I had to do that. Putting this onto the body, obviously I have to drill 2 holes, plus you have to drill a larger hole there. The hole is pretty big on the body. I don't like doing holes that large, but I knew it was going to be fully covered by this, and I ride this pretty much all the time with a Fly 6 off the back and the camera. Even if I don't have the camera, I've got the Fly 6 for the flasher on it too. So it makes it a pretty well waterproof situation. The mounts, the other thing is the mount for the Fly 6. These are stupidly expensive. They're they're a little over $12 a piece, I think, if you buy them. They're called Pannier Mounts. They're for mounting on the back of a pannier rather than on a bike. Most all the Cyclic, the Fly 6, when you get it, it comes with all these little mounts and adapters for a seat post, which I don't have. So I cut those little extra tabs off. There's also a couple screws on the inside, so it's much more of a flush mount. And this is the Fly 6, so it goes on, twist locks, and it's in there nice and strong and solid, and fared into this fares around to it. This is why I designed that way. And this one, there's just a couple machine screws that this comes with. The mount comes with, and that's just holding that in place. This is nice and rock solid. I'll have to measure the weight on one. They're not that heavy, but I was not terribly worried about the weight. I really wanted to make sure that this was very strong. These are very solid things. So I finally got the camera pylon to a satisfactory level, shall I say. Here's how it looks on the Milan. So I think that kind of gives you an idea where I am on the project. Camera, tower, I'm happy with it now. I finally figured out the process. And the shorty hood, I'll be making that up in the next couple days. I just have to work on those hinge blocks, and I'll be starting off with my my new big project. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hi, how are you?